Everyone, welcome back to our 2019 Texas Longhorns position by position breakdowns and previews. This video, we're going to be looking at the LBs, the backers, the linebacker crew for the 2019 season, and looking at in Todd Orlando's defense, those three linebackers. You've got you've got that B backer, which is kind of that linebacker slash defensive end, can kind of line up on the line of scrimmage, or line up as a linebacker, and then the MAC, which is that middle linebacker, and then the rover. So, just kind of initial thoughts, I think, with this group. A lot of just incredible leadership and experience lost with Gary Johnson and Anthony Wheeler. Absolutely loved Gary Johnson his 2 years at Texas, really proving that a lot of value can be found in a junior college transfer, which we have two of those in this group this year. But losing him as a leader right there in the middle, losing his speed, I think is going to be a big deal. You even go back 2 years ago with Gary Johnson and Malik Jefferson, really two of the fastest linebackers in the conference, maybe even in the country. So a lot lost there. Returning some guys that have some experience, but not a lot of leadership, and certainly not a lot of starts. Of this entire group of all the linebackers, you've got a combined 8 starts, and that's just between senior Jeffery McCulloch and true sophomore Joseph Ossai. So they're the only two guys that have any starts at all with this group. So those are kind of my initial thoughts. Definitely a super important group right there in the middle. They need to cover. They need to put pressure into the backfield, just reading the offense and kind of commanding that defense, right there in the middle, which is not easy with these Big 12 offenses. So let's take a look at projected starters, and I think this group, the reserves, what we would call reserves or second string, whatever. Those guys are the most important, I think, of any other group on the team. Looking at who's actually going to step up and get playing time outside of the guys that are actually going to start. So take a look at the projected starters. We're looking at, again, we mentioned Joseph Ossai already, so he'll be a true sophomore. Definitely played last year as a true freshman, projecting him to take over that B backer spot to where he can also possibly line up on the line of scrimmage with his hand down, as a slash defensive end. Ossai really came on, I think, late last year, made a big impact against Iowa State. If you remember right, he forced that fumble that really kind of sealed the game that Charles Omenihu scooped up, and then actually led the team in tackles in the Sugar Bowl. Had, I believe, 8 total tackles in the Sugar Bowl, but led the team against Georgia. So really, really stepped up to show what he can do late. I think to give the coaches a lot of confidence in his ability to start the entire season, even though he didn't. I think he only had like 20 total tackles for the year, but and I think about half of them came in the last two or three games. So really excited to see what he's going to do. He's definitely a great athlete. He can pass rush. He knows how to get in the backfield. He has a lot of moves. So going to be really interested to see how the coaches use him as a weapon to, that position has to be the most versatile. So you got to be able to cover, you got to be able to pass rush when needed, and you got to be able to work with the defensive line. Malcolm Roach played this position a little bit last year, but going to be cool to see maybe how they use Roach and Joseph Ossai, maybe on that same side a lot, and maybe run some stunts and stuff with them. All right, and then the MAC position right there in the middle, Ayodele Adeoye, the redshirt freshman. projects right now to start at middle linebacker, but I'm not so sure that he's going to end up being the number one guy there all year long, and we'll look at that in just a minute. But he's kind of the bigger guy. Tom Herman even had a quote recently that said that he thinks he might have gained a little bit too much weight, but we'll see. So, again, not a lot of playing time, having to plug in to fill a big loss there from Anthony Wheeler. Just a lot of uncertainty with this group. So, how much confidence Orlando has in them is going to be interesting. And then senior Jeffery McCulloch starting at that rover position. He's the leader of the group. He's also a Big 12 academic, academic all-conference. So he's a smart kid, obviously has been there for a while and started last year along with Wheeler and Gary Johnson. So, he's the leader of the group. Have a lot of confidence in him. He's fun to watch. But none of these guys just really pop out at you like a Malik Jefferson or a Gary Johnson when those type of guys are playing at their, playing up to their potential. They were just amazing. They were awesome. And those were the type of guys that would just absolutely step up and make plays when you needed somebody to do it. And then here's just a few kind of headlines that have kind of come down recently and even kind of through the offseason of just, kind of what's being said about this linebacker group. Texas linebacker outlook for the fall. How will Longhorns fare without Gary Johnson and Anthony Wheeler? So, that's the big question. How's this group going to do without that leadership? And then Tartolando just making a comment about the speed on the entire defense, but particularly the speed that the linebackers bring, looking at having a speed at a different level. So we'll see. And then obviously from the SB Nation, the headline, Texas linebackers have plenty to prove in 2019. I think that's definitely true. They do have to overcome a lot of lack of experience. And then one from the Bebo Beat at the Austin American Statesman. What does Tartolando want out of the Texas new linebacker corps? So a lot of questions, a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty there. So we'll just have to see, kind of how it all comes together. But looking at a few of the reserves, the one guy who really, really pops out to me is junior college transfer Caleb Johnson. Go look at some of his highlights. This guy plays with a bad attitude. He looks awesome. I really think that he is going to overtake Adeoye at the middle linebacker position at some point in the season. So, he comes in as a junior. He's a transfer. Obviously, he's brand new to the program, so there's definitely going to be some adjustments there. But man, he attacks. He's a great one-on-one tackler, which is something that you really need right there in the middle, having to defend that run and having to defend anything that crosses over the middle there, and also just attacking and spotting the play, recognizing the play, and just go plugging it. So, I think he's awesome. I love just the potential that he brings there. I really think he's a Gary Johnson type of player. He reminds me a lot of that playing style when you go look at some of the video on him. And then JaJuan Mitchell, the other junior college transfer. So again, Caleb Johnson, JaJuan Mitchell, junior college transfers, brand new to the program. JaJuan Mitchell comes in as a sophomore. I believe he also played with Jacoby Jones, the other junior college transfer on the defensive line. So those two come over as former teammates. The thing with JaJuan Mitchell is, I know the coaching staff made a push for him late. I don't know if he would really even be here if it wasn't for true freshman DeGabriel Floyd and his diagnosis with his spinal issues. But I really, really think that this coaching staff was very much counting on DeGabriel Floyd coming in here and taking over as the starter at the Mac position right there in the middle. There was a lot of talk about him being the projected starter as a true freshman, and I really think the coaches were super, super high on him. And then I really think they made a push to try to get JaJuan Mitchell here, just as more need for linebackers. So I'm not so sure if Mitchell would be here if it wasn't for Floyd's diagnosis. So Gabriel Floyd definitely out for the season. Was super, super excited about him. He absolutely looked like he could be plugged in as a starter, as a true freshman. So big loss there, which I think created a lot of movement with this group. So, definitely you don't want to see that, but hopefully they can come up with some ways to kind of mix it up. And then other guys, Marcus Tillman Jr., who is a freshman, and then David Gabenda, the other freshman. So just a lot of lack in experience, which Tartolando had a quote recently about when you have a lot of new guys, you almost really kind of have to slow down your teaching because you have to get them up to a certain base level of learning. Before you can actually start to try to mix in some other ideas and to see what these guys can handle, how much they can handle, how much trust can you have in them. So those are the projected starters as of right now. So, and I would say as the season goes on, maybe through that first month of the season in September, I would project that Caleb Johnson would take over at that middle linebacker position as he gets more acclimated with the defense. Texas obviously has a really tough first half of the schedule with LSU and Oklahoma by mid-October. So most of all, I would say I'm most excited about Joseph Ossai to see what he brings. I think he's going to be the disruptor of the group, and then to see if Caleb Johnson is actually going to take over that starting middle linebacker spot. So drop your projected starting lineup in the comments. Let us know who you're most excited about and how you feel about how this linebacker group fits in with the overall defense as well. Give the video a like. Definitely share it. Don't forget to subscribe. Click the logo right there in the corner. And let us know what other types of videos you would like to see. And don't forget to check out the other position-by-position breakdowns, and we'll release more over the next few days.